And we are live. Welcome for this live stream on how to transition to Web3 as a Web2 developer. Welcome everybody in the chat. Let me know where you guys are from in the chat. All right. So I see already we have a couple of people here. We have LearnB in the chat. Who else is here? All right. So super excited for this stream because we're gonna spend about 1 hour together, and I'm gonna tell you the exact steps that you need to take to start your career as a Web3 developer, in Web3 as a Web2 developer. So from Web2 to Web3, this is exactly what I've done myself, and a lot of the students of Eat the Blocks did exactly the same thing. All right, so we have a couple of people in the chat. Jad, Simping. All right, where you guys are from? Let me know in the chat. Okay, so let's get started. So why Web3? Well, so you're gonna have a couple of memes in this presentation. All right, so yeah, as a Web3 developer, you really are doing something very important. We are creating a new decentralized world. So that's not just coding any random thing. We really participate in a movement that really matters. Whereas in Web2, a lot of people kind of lack of meaning. It's we do things like adjust the CSS color, etc. So this is one of the things I really love about Web3 is that we do things that really, really matter. All right, so here is the agenda for today. So I'm going to tell you what is my story, how I became a Web3 developer, then what is the job market for Web3 in 2024, then what are the different career paths for Web3. So I'm going to explain a different way you can specialize, because Web3 is pretty broad and this can mean different things. Then we're going to see the roadmap to learn Web3 development, and after, I'm gonna give you some tips about how you can find your first job in the space, because if you learn Web3, well, probably at some point you want to get paid for it, right? So we're gonna see how to do this as fast as possible. And after, I'm going to present you our Solidity BOOTCAMP. So this is a 1 month program to turn you into a Solidity Pro and really fast forward, accelerate your career. And at the end, we're going to do a Q&A where you can ask any question about how to get into Web3 as a Web2 developer. All right, so we have a couple of more people in the chat. We have THX, Peter, Saline, NASA, Kenjo, so people from all over the place, from different countries. Amazing. Okay, so let's start with my story. Who I am, Julian, the founder of Eat the Blocks. So when I started my career, actually, I had some pretty good diploma, and I could have just stayed at home and just follow the path of just be an engineer at home, and it was very, very comfortable. But you know what? I wanted some adventures, so I decided to take a plane and go very far away. I went to Asia. So I'm originally from Paris, so great place to live, Paris, France. And everything was set up for me there. But no, I decided to start my career there in this amazing city of Hong Kong, the most cyberpunk city on the planet. And yeah, that was really, really great. And I was working and at the top of this building. That was my dream. I was all about this movie, The Wolf of Wall Street, and so I was working in finance. That was my first job, and so I was living the dream, really. That was great. But unfortunately, the dream didn't last, because there was a huge recession that hit, and a lot of people were fired in the finance industry. And so my adventure in finance basically ended abruptly. My dream of becoming the next Gordon Gekko didn't didn't exactly work, so I had to think about a plan B. And so what did I do? Well, I decided to travel. Went different country, went to Taiwan, traveled all around Asia. And I met some people who were software developer that were working remotely. So that was the first digital nomad sometime in 2013. And those guys really inspire me because I realized it was possible to make money online and working on something interesting, coding. That's always something that looked really cool to me, but that was a little bit intimidating. I didn't know how to get started. And I saw those guys and I thought that was so cool. So I decided to do the same thing. And so I taught myself coding, just, going on YouTube. I didn't take any bootcamp, didn't take any course, just learning by myself, basically. And I was able to get my first customers, and I was able to live the digital nomad dream, going with your laptop in different, really nice location. So that was a great moment in my life. And I wasn't a blockchain developer because at that time blockchain was just a beginning. There wasn't much of a job market. So I started with PHP, very humble beginnings, PHP and WordPress, which is great for beginner because you can learn very fast and you can get started and then start to do some website. Basically, I think my first customer, I had it like 4 months after I started learning WordPress. So really, really super fast, right? And so I did this for a couple of years. Everything was going great, but there was a little problem because you see, the people in this ecosystem, PHP and WordPress, they really don't pay a lot. And I realized that coding is it's not a unified field. You have a lot of sub niche, and depending on which niche you choose, financially you can do really well, but you can also be really poor. So a lot of PHP developers were really poor. That was my case. And you know what? I thought that sucks. I mean, I love coding, but I don't intend to be poor for the rest of my life. Okay, so I started to think, okay, well, you know what? I need to change something. And so my 3 requirements were: I wanted something that is well paid. I wanted something. When I say well paid, exactly, I had a very specific figure in mind. I wanted to make 6 figure. For me, that was a dream. 6 figure. It's almost $10,000 per month. I mean, you can live well with this. I wanted something that is reliable. So, I didn't want to keep going from one customer to the other. I wanted to have a full-time job. And finally, I wanted to have something remote so that I can stay where I am in Asia and I can live wherever I want. I had no intention to going back to the West. Absolutely not. So which means that you can do, when you work in a setup like this, you can do what we call geographical arbitrage, meaning that you get a salary from the West, but you live in a lower cost country, which means you're actually saving a lot of money. In some cases, you can save more money than some people who are, let's say, in the Silicon Valley, who have really crazy salary, but also have crazy expenses. So that was kind of the plan. But the problem was that every time I sent a job application somewhere, either I didn't hear any response, or when they answered, it was just to tell me that I was just too junior. And so, that was the plan, but it was difficult to put in place. So I kept thinking, okay, well, what can I change? Because I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over and getting all those rejections. So I need to change my plan. And so first thing was to specialize, okay? Because before I was just this sort of generalist web developer, jack of all trades. They can do everything, PHP, JavaScript, etc. And it's really hard to be really high paid, to find a job first, and to find a high paid job, very hard, because you don't really stand out. A lot of people are like you, they can do many things, so people don't remember you. So I wanted to specialize. And I happened to stumble upon blockchain at that time. I was checking out this website that you may know, Hacker News. That's a website for coders, basically a sort of Reddit for coder. And I saw this name like Ethereum, people were posting a lot about Ethereum. And I was wondering, what is this Ethereum thing? I see this so often, and I did some research, and it led me to blockchain, led me to Bitcoin, and I fell into the crypto rabbit hole from that moment, and I really fell in love with it. I find the concept so cool. I remember the landing page of Ethereum at that time was saying, it was a very basic landing page. That was the very beginning of the project. And they were saying, we are building a world decentralized computer. Very, very cool project. So I decided to specialize in blockchain. It took me some time to find exactly in blockchain what is the niche that pay the most, and I will tell you after more detail about this. But in the end, I specialize in this, and on my resume on LinkedIn, I started to mention those things. Okay, I mentioned now I'm a crypto guy, I'm in blockchain, and this had a lot of influence. I also started to lower my expectations, so I wanted a full-time job, but I realized, well, maybe it would be easier to get a few freelance gig to build some experience in this new niche. And once I have this, maybe I can get this full-time job in a much easier way. And finally, I decided to create a personal brand, and so that for me that was a huge shift compared to before. Before, my idea was that you just work on your technical skill, and somehow the marketing is gonna take care of itself. I remember I met this senior developer, someone who worked at Mozilla, so a very, very strong developer, and who told me, when a developer is good, people know it, and that guy will find some work really easily. So I was a junior, so I just listened to what he said. But guess what? He was completely wrong. That's absolutely not true. We are not in a meritocracy. So compared to other area outside tech is more of a meritocracy, yes, but unfortunately when it comes to marketing, things aren't so straightforward. It's not like you work on your tech skill and boom, magically all the rest is going to take care of itself. No, you also have to work on your personal branding, so especially nowadays in 2024. So I realized this in 2017 and started to work on my personal branding on YouTube, LinkedIn, started to create some tutorial about blockchain and Ethereum and Solidity. And that was so useful because people started to contact me to give me some gig basically. And this is how I find my first six-figure remote job in blockchain, just 3 months after I started to study blockchain. So very, very fast. My plan worked perfectly. And after that, I started to give conferences. So, and all of this was paid by my company. Basically, my company was paying me to fly in different places, and I was able to give all these presentations. So my plan worked perfectly. And what I've been doing since that time is that on Eat the Blocks, I've showed other developers how they can do exactly the same, how they can transition from Web2 to Web3. So on Eat the Blocks, we have a ton of tutorials, but we also have courses, and now we are running a bootcamp. So I'm going to tell you more about this after. Okay, so that's it for my story. Next, let's talk of the job market for Web3. Okay, so because I'm telling all of this, so that was in 2017, but now we are almost 7 years later. So what about now? Can we still find some work as a Web3 dev? Well, that's a good question. Okay, so if you ask certain people, crypto is dead. Okay, so you find a lot of crypto hater on Reddit, Twitter, etc. And really, these guys are really angry when you tell them that crypto is doing well. The reality is that crypto is volatile. There are some time where crypto is doing good, some time where it's a bit worse. But all in all, basically the trend is still to go up. So the lows are getting less and less low. Basically, as time goes by, the lows are not so low, and the high are getting higher. and the whole market is getting more volatile, less volatile. So it's becoming more mature. So there is definitely more stability now in 2024 compared to the very beginning. So if we talk of the job market first, we need to mention the situation on crypto market. Even though crypto market do not govern 100% the job market, it always has some influence. So when we are in a bull market, when price goes up, then in general there are more opportunities. And guess what? We are in a bull market. Okay, so 2024 has been a really good year for crypto market. So that's a very good thing for us. Then we had some really good news like the Bitcoin ETFs that were approved at the beginning of this year, which will give a steady inflow of money into the crypto market. Recently, we also had the approval of the Ethereum ETF, which a lot of people thought was impossible. So that's an additional, a regular inflow of money into the crypto ecosystem. And even though you might not be into trading, but overall, it still has. This is important to keep an eye on this because it will have some consequences for us blockchain developer. All right, so another potential good news that will happen this year is when the interest rate will go down. So now the interest rate are very high, but everybody is expecting that it start to go down very, very soon. And so it's going to trigger a big party in the equity market, so S&P 500, etc. And by extension, it will also trigger a party for crypto, which ultimately means more job for us. All right, so we can all be thankful to be at this time in this bull market, but wait a second, how do you actually get in? Okay, so you see this bull market, but you're like, hey, I'm a blockchain dev, okay, I want to get in. How do I get started in this industry? Very good question. So here is a comparison of the number of Solidity job on a famous job board. So keep in mind that this is just one job board, okay? They don't have all the job in the world, but that can give you some indication. So Solidity, this is one of the biggest programming language in blockchain. And so in June, there was about 3,500 jobs there. In July, plus 500 jobs. So clearly we are in a trend where things are going up, all right? So big increase in Solidity job here. And so you can go on this website. So this is called web3.career. If you want to check by yourself, you can see the kind of job you can find. So here, this is Solidity developer. This is basically blockchain development. So for a junior position, you can earn up to 90K per year. And this is remote and junior. And this is very recent. This is a screenshot I took today, yesterday, and that was 2 days ago. So very recent job posting. Another job posting, so 6 days ago. This is also remote, between 130K to 140K. And by the way, this company FutureSwap, this is actually an alumni of Eat the Blocks training. So we trained the founder of FutureSwap on Eat the Blocks. Okay, so really proud of that. So now they are hiring people. There are many ways to get paid for your Web3 skills. So here is another announcement where this is a bounty. Basically, you can, this is not a job. This is a blockchain protocol that will pay you if you build projects on their blockchain. And there are many such cases. Okay, so this is on top of all the jobs opportunity. Okay, and this is not really something that we see much in Web2. In Web2, we don't really have this system of bounty, but in Web3, we have it a lot, and this is amazing. All right, so another place where you can find opportunities is Upwork. So this is for freelance, and here I just took a few freelance job that I saw recently. So here's some very simple project $500. This is to create a token. Another one to create a token, $3,000. Another one for tokenomics, basically someone who is a specialist in tokens. Another one, well, 1 to 3 months, development of a token. Here another one, also token development. So you can see there is a very strong demand for token development on Upwork. And so there are a lot of opportunities to work in the Web3 space, and a lot of these opportunities are remote, which means that you can work from anywhere. And this is only what we call the hidden job market. Okay, most of the jobs aren't even listed on this platform, but they are hidden, and you have to get them. You have to do some networking, and we will talk about this later. But really, you have a ton of opportunity in Web3. Okay, so now in terms of salary, as a junior Web3 developer, you can expect something around $100,000 per year, so 6-figure. The average, so for Solidity developers specifically, is $130,000, and maximum, it can go up to $250,000 or even $300,000 per year. So these are for senior position, but it can go pretty high, basically. All right. So this was the job market for Web3, but now what are the different career paths? How you can specialize, and this is really key because Web3 is very broad. So unless you specialize, it's going to be harder to get started. So yeah, you're going to see some memes here. Okay, I had fun when I prepared this presentation, as you can see. So here, the first option is to become a full stack Web3 developer, which means that you do everything. You do the full application, all the component of it, the same way as we have full stack Web2 developer that do front end and backend. In Web3, a full stack will do the front end and what we call the smart contract. Smart contract, this is a small program that runs on a blockchain. So this is the first option. Then another option is to be a backend Web3 developer, where you basically you do mostly backend development, but you interface with a blockchain. And basically these two things, full stack and backend, even though you have Web3 in the title, this is still mainly Web2 development. Like 95% of a full stack Web3 developer, this is basically Web2. Same thing for Web3. But if you really want to be 100% in Web3 and don't touch much Web2, you have to be a smart contract developer, which only deals with the smart contract, which is, like I said, this small program that runs on the blockchain that can manipulate a lot of money, that is very sensitive. So there are some people who only do smart contract development, and as time goes by, we will have more and more specialization because things are getting more complex, and so we need experts. Okay, then another possibility is to become a security auditor. So as I said, this smart contract manipulate a lot of money, and so this act as a honeypot for hackers. So that's why hackers constantly try to poke hole into smart contracts and try to find if there are any security vulnerabilities, and if they do find a vulnerability, they will exploit it, and they will be able to steal a lot of money from smart contracts. And so there was, in the past few years, billions of dollars were stolen by hackers. So because of that, a new industry started in a sort of sub niche of Web3 developed a lot, which is the security industry. And what those people do is that they check the code of smart contracts and try to find any security vulnerability. But instead of exploiting those vulnerability, they will work with the developer of the smart contract to fix those vulnerability, and after the smart contract will be published. So this is a really big niche in the industry, and security auditor are very well paid, and they are basically specialists in both security but also in smart contract. Then we have the MEV traders. So MEV traders are mostly a developer who know about development but also finance, and what they do is that they exploit a unique mechanism in blockchain to basically run some trading bots. So if you hear things like arbitrage, for example, this is something that MEV trader do. And so they have those automated trading bots that run 24/7. So this is some code. This is a script basically, and this piece of code make money for them even while they sleep. Okay, well, it's a bit more complex than this, and of course you need to be an expert to really make money as an MEV trader. But this is a viable option if you want to be in Web3. And another option is to be a blockchain core developer. So as a blockchain core developer, you will create the blockchain themselves. So for example, you will work on the client of Ethereum, that's the software of Ethereum, the client of Solana, etc. This is technically the most challenging. So people who do this are really the smartest among Web3 developer. So this is really an elite. So you have all those different options when you work in the Web3 industry, and this is important to choose one specifically, and I will talk more about this later. Now, another way to specialize is another in your career path. You also have to consider what's the application that you work for. So a first application is DeFi, or decentralized finance. That's basically finance but on the blockchain. Most of applications in blockchain are in the context of DeFi. Okay, that's the biggest thing. Then we have NFTs. So NFTs were really big in 2021, not so much these days, but basically NFTs are those small JPEGs that cost a lot of money that are on the blockchain, and that can be used in many different use cases. So digital art is the first one, but there are many other ones. Actually, even in DeFi, we can use NFTs. But right now in 2024, NFTs, there isn't much activity. And then we have games. So the idea with game is that you put the assets of the game on the blockchain, which means that you as a player, you are sure that you're going to keep the ownership of your in-game assets. There is no risk of losing for example, the experience point that you've accumulated by playing the game. So this will be a big use case in the future. Okay, so you have these three use cases, but by far DeFi is the biggest one. So now in terms of career paths, there are different options in terms of how you work. So first option is to be an employee. So just work full-time for a company that is going to hire you for your coding skill. Very classic here. Another possibility is to be a freelancer. So usually you work on a contract basis. Usually it's more short-term. And this is great to get started. This is usually for smaller projects. And finally, you can be an entrepreneur. So either you go the VC route, you try to raise money for your project, or you're more the solopreneur route like me. So without raising money, you just launch your small project in Web3 without any funding, and you have to make money. Okay, so those were the different career paths for Web3. And next, I'm going to show you the roadmap to learn Web3. Like what do you have to learn exactly to become a Web3 developer? So the big problem when you're a Web3 developer is that everything is just moving so fast. So let's say you are focused on any specific blockchain, and it's very likely that you're going to see some news on Reddit or Twitter or on YouTube. You see some news about a new blockchain that looks more cool, and so lose your focus, and you're going to start to learn something else, and you just keep going from one blockchain to another, and you don't focus on anything. So you don't want to do this, okay? You want to be more strategic. So here I've compared 3 different blockchain. So Ethereum, Solana, and Arbitrum. And we compare them in terms of TVL, which means total value locked. So that's a metrics that tells you how much money is stored on all these blockchain. And this gives you a measure of how important they are. And so you can see that by far Ethereum is far above its main competitor, okay? Way bigger than Solana. So I know that right now a lot of people are saying, Solana is the future, blah, blah, blah. We heard this before. Yes, Solana has a specific use case for meme coin. I think that's great, but you can see that in terms of total value locked, we are still very far away from Ethereum. Arbitrum, so still far away from Ethereum. But here, this interesting thing to note is that Arbitrum and many other blockchains are actually based on the technology of Ethereum. Okay, so if you choose Ethereum, not only this is the biggest blockchain, but also you have all those other blockchains that are called EVM compatible, meaning they are built with the technology of Ethereum. You have all these other blockchains like Arbitrum, where you can reuse your skill. So strategically, this is a very smart decision to invest in Ethereum because it just unlocked so many possibilities. And also when we talk of the job market of Ethereum and all those EVM blockchain is just much bigger than other blockchain ecosystem. When we talk of development tools, also the development tools on Ethereum are just so much better. So in terms of users, also we have way more users on the Ethereum ecosystem. So really you have all the reasons in the world to start with Ethereum. Now, if you're already a blockchain developer, later you can start to see other ecosystem like Solana, but if you're just getting started, just start with Ethereum. Okay, so here is a website that will show you the different, all the blockchain that are EVM compatible, and there are hundreds of them. So that really shows you the power of investing in the Ethereum ecosystem. Okay, so if we are going to list the different skills you need, we need to cover some basic technical stuff. Don't worry, we're not gonna get too deep. It's just a brief overview. So here is what we call a decentralized application or a blockchain application or a Web3 application. So this is the typical architecture. So you have something on the blockchain, which is called a smart contract. Okay, that's a small program where you have some critical code. And then you have a part which is either in a web browser or in a mobile app. So with a front end, so typically this will be with JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and this front end is going to interact with a wallet. So the wallet is where the users will store the private key, which is basically like a password, okay, the equivalent of a password, but this is stored user side. This is not stored on any server, and this is how user will control their account. Okay, when they want to do any operation on the blockchain, we say that they send transactions. They do this by using their wallet, and so here you have different things that you need to learn. So first, if you're already a Web2 dev, you know how to build a front end, but you will need how to do the integration with the wallet and also the integration with smart contract, and also how to create the smart contract. Okay. Now, another possibility is that you build a backend Web3 application. So in this case, you're going to have a backend that interface with a smart contract. and typically the backend is going to store some data also in a database in a server. Okay, so you have two options, either here an application which is, so a typical decentralized application is more like this, but sometimes a decentralized application also is combined with a backend like this that also read data from the blockchain. Okay, so this is it for the technical overview. Now I want to show you a mind map that I've prepared, where we're going to talk in more detail of the different skills that you need to learn. Okay, so here's Web3 development, and around it you'll find different things that you need to learn. Okay, so we're gonna start with the Ethereum blockchain here. Okay, so you need to understand how the Ethereum blockchain works. So first we have the blockchain data structure. Okay, what is the data structure of a blockchain, especially on Ethereum? So the blocks, how they are related to each other. Then you need to understand the proof of work mechanism, which is the historical way of getting consensus on the blockchain, even though now we've switched to another consensus mechanism. I'm going to talk about this just after. You need to understand what is a transaction. So a transaction is basically a signed data package where users specify which action they want to take. So you have transaction fields. You need to understand what are those. You also need to understand the concept of gas, which is how we pay for a transaction fee. You also need to understand how we can scale the Ethereum blockchain. So there are two ways. One way is with L2 chain, which are secondary blockchain like Arbitrum that are connected to Ethereum. And then we also have Ethereum 2.0, which is the next evolution of Ethereum that has a different consensus mechanism. So instead of proof of work here, it's proof of stake. So you need to understand just the basics of Ethereum 2.0. But for us, Web3 dev, it's not going to change massively. It's going to change mostly for end user because it's going to make the blockchain more scalable. But all the Web3 application that we build right now, they will be fully compatible once Ethereum 2.0 is deployed. Okay, so it's just for your own interest, but not strictly required to be a pro of Ethereum 2.0. Then you're gonna have to master a tool that is called Etherscan. That's what we call a blockchain explorer. So this allows you to visualize what is happening on the blockchain. So for example, you can inspect the balance of an address. You can understand with Etherscan, you can understand simple transactions. So you should be able to do that. For example, if you want to debug what's going on in your application, then Etherscan is going to be very important. And you should also be able to execute read-only functions. So there is an interface on Etherscan that allows you to read data from the blockchain just by clicking on some buttons. So you should be able to do this. So yeah, that will cover what you need to know about the Ethereum blockchain. Now, this is just one part of it. There's another part, very important, that we call smart contract development. And here, so smart contract, those are the small programs that run on the blockchain. And they are created by using a programming language called Solidity. Okay, so there are other programming language, but this one is the biggest by far. So you need to master Solidity. You need to master testing, okay? Because with smart contract, we always make sure that a smart contract doesn't have any bug, and for this, we need to test it very thoroughly. You also need to learn how to do smart contract deployment, so how we can deploy smart contract on the blockchain. What is the full procedure? You need to know gas optimization, which is the art of reducing transaction fee in your smart contract. You need to understand what we call assembly YAML, which is a sort of dialect of Solidity, but quite low level, that is very close to what we call the EVM, the Ethereum Virtual Machine. And this will allow you to do more gas optimization. Basically, when you're good with assembly YOLO, you can do better gas optimization, and you can also better understand the EVM, which is good for your own knowledge, but also for interviews. You can be quizzed on that. So that's a very good idea to be good with assembly. Then let's talk of the EVM. This is the part of Ethereum that executes smart contracts. So you need to know what is the world state. That's basically how the data of a smart contracts and of addresses is represented on the blockchain. What is the data structure of that? Then what is the execution model of the EVM? So basically how smart contracts are executed. Then you need to understand the main opcodes. So opcodes are the low-level instructions that of your smart contract, and you need to understand those. Then you will need to understand the main patterns for smart contracts. So, for example, how we do upgrades. So by default, we cannot do an upgrade of smart contract, but there is a way to do it, and it's not natively, but with Solidity, there is a pattern that allows you to do that. Then there is a factory pattern to produce a lot of smart contracts that are similar. A secret breaker, so that's a security pattern to interrupt the execution of a smart contract in case of problem. Commit reveal, which has to deal with privacy. And there are a couple of other patterns that you need to know. Then you will need to know about tokens, which are how we represent assets on the blockchain. There are two main kind of token. One is ERC20, fungible token. Most of assets are ERC20. And then non-fungible token, ERC721. So NFT are ERC721. So you need to understand those two token standards and how we implement this with Solidity and how to interact with them. Then a big part of smart contract development is about security. So you need to be able to write safe smart contract. And for that, you need to understand what are the main vulnerabilities, like reentrancy, like deep pegging attack, like rug pull, and there are many other ones to know. You also need to understand what are the best practices in security to avoid those vulnerabilities, like the check effect interaction, push over pull, principle of least privilege. There are many others. Then you need to understand a few tools. So there are many more tools than this, but those are the two ones that are the most important. Remix, that's a coding playground to code smart contract, and Foundry, that's a framework to test and deploy smart contract. So historically, there were other smart contract framework, but nowadays in 2024, this is the most popular framework. You will also need to understand what is called Oracle. So Oracle, this is a system to get outside data inside the blockchain. A famous project related to Oracle is Chainlink. And yeah, so this is how you become a pro in smart contract development. Now, another thing that you will need to know is the different use cases. Okay, so we write code for specific use cases. And so I mentioned those three use cases: DeFi, NFT, and games. So in DeFi, what are the main kind of project that we do in DeFi, where you have decentralized exchanges, basically where you can buy and sell tokens that I just mentioned before. And you have stablecoin, this is a specific kind of token that always has the same value, like Tether, like USDC. Then the kind of project related to NFT are basically an NFT marketplace where you can buy and sell NFTs. But you can also, another kind of project with NFT is just to code your own NFT. And then when it comes to games, so the part of game that is in the blockchain is a very small part. It's just the asset. And so it's divided between fungible asset and non-fungible asset. So fungible asset, this is with ERC20. Non-fungible asset is with ERC721. And so how you can learn about this is basically check out existing game and how they implemented their fungible and non-fungible assets. All right, so now let's continue in this mind map. And another part of your roadmap is to learn about MEV. Okay, so MEV, this is a set of techniques that you can use to make money as a trader. So first of all, there's the mempool, which is a sort of internal memory of the blockchain where all the transactions arrive and they store them before inclusion in the blockchain. So how the mempool is working. Then what is the concept of front running, which allow people to basically copy your trade and steal your ID and send a trade before, basically copy your ID and steal your ID, and when you trade, try to go through, it doesn't work anymore because someone already sees the opportunity. Then what is a flash loan, which is a way to get a huge loan on the blockchain, and that allow you to do things like arbitrage, which is how you would take advantage of a temporary discrepancy in price between different decentralized exchanges. And with all of this knowledge, you will be able to create your own trading bot and maybe make money. Another part of Web3 development is related to the interaction with the blockchain, especially if you are a full stack Web3 developer or a backend Web3 developer. So first of all, you need to understand the Ethereum API, so how we get data from the blockchain. So what are the different endpoints? But some of them are very important, like the endpoint to read data, the endpoint to send transaction, how we listen to event. This is another way to read data, and how we can get the balance of a specific address. And so those endpoints, they run on what we call an Ethereum client, which is the software that runs Ethereum. So there are different kind of client. There is what we call development clients that are useful to develop smart contract locally on your laptop. So you will need to know a few of them. I mentioned the Foundry framework. So Foundry framework has a development client. Then there are execution and consensus clients. So execution client, this is where the smart contract actually run. And so when I was talking of this API here, Ethereum API, this is for development client and execution client. And then we have consensus client, which is only for Ethereum 2.0. This is related to something called the beacon chain. So it's good to know that these exist, but you probably won't have to deal with them directly. Okay, so now the problem with Ethereum client, except the development client, but those ones are easy to run. But if you wanted to run, let's say a normal client, not for development, but a normal one that allow you to send transaction to the real blockchain. Because with those development client, you cannot connect to the real blockchain. Okay, you can only connect to a local blockchain only on your computer. So you cannot do deployment to production, for example. So for production, instead of running your own Ethereum client, which is very difficult, you will use what we call a blockchain API, which is a service that runs some client for you, and you can just consume those clients by using their API. So there are different kind of blockchain API. There is what we call a node API, which is the most simple kind of a blockchain API, where they just run Ethereum client for you. They give you a secret key. They give you an endpoint, and you can send your transaction there, and they're going to take care of everything. No need to run a client yourself. And a lot of those are free. Well, they have a free plan, and if you want more, you need to pay. Then we have indexer APIs, which allow you to, so this is read-only, it's not to send a transaction, but this allow you to read some more complex data, because you can use a GraphQL, which is an advanced way of specifying what kind of data you want. And then we have crypto price API, so more geared towards traders. So for example, if you're MEV trader, this can be interesting. You want to know what is the price of a certain crypto, then you will use a price API. But when you do some research about blockchain API, it's good to know what kind of API we're talking about. Okay, so then we last part of this branch basically is the front end. Okay, so how can you build a front end that interact with the blockchain? So first of all, there is the interaction with the wallet. So the dominant wallet is called MetaMask for Ethereum. So you will need to get familiar with this. And for your code, you will need to understand how you can connect your JavaScript code to MetaMask by using a library called Ethers. And another thing you will need to know with Ethers is how to send transaction and read data. So two things: connection to MetaMask and sending transaction, reading data. All right, and so once you know all of this, you will be a complete Web3 developer. Now, I know that this is scary, okay, and not all Web3 developers know all of this. So for example, if you're just a smart contract guy, well, you mostly need to know this and also the basics about Ethereum blockchain. But for example, the interaction with blockchain, you don't need to know it. So depending on which career path you're gonna choose, you don't need to know everything. Okay, so now I want to give you a sort of summary of this mind map because maybe it's a bit overwhelming. So I'm gonna make it easy for you. For the blockchain, you choose Ethereum because that's the number one blockchain on the market, okay, for every metrics. Then another technology that you need to specialize in is Solidity, which is the programming language for smart contract. And finally, there is Foundry, which is a smart contract framework that is very popular. So Ethereum, Solidity, Foundry. If you know those three, you'll be good. All right, so now let's review the different skills that you need if you want to be a smart contract developer. Okay, because I think that smart contract development is really one of the best options when you want to get into Web3. So first, you have to know the basics of blockchain and Ethereum, then the Solidity language, then smart contract testing, smart contract deployment, smart contract security, EVM and YAL, which is a low-level dialect of Solidity, how to do gas optimization to reduce transaction fees. And then I recommend that you know how to do a very specific task from A to Z. So the problem is like you have many beginners that just know the basics of the language, but they don't know any specific application. So I recommend to choose one application of a smart contract and become really good with it. For example, how to create a token. Tokens can be very simple, but they can also be quite advanced. So I would definitely recommend to specialize in something like this. So now let's talk of how you can find your first job in the space once you have learned everything. So the problem of most people who study Web3 or software development is that they are stuck in tutorial hell. So they just keep going through tutorial and they don't know how to do the transition from these tutorials to an actual job. So we're gonna talk of this. So you have three options here: employee, freelancer, entrepreneur. Which one are you going to take? So of course this depends on your own preference, but personally I find that starting as a freelancer is really good because it can go both ways. First of all, it's way easier to start as a freelancer. And then once you're a freelancer, you can decide. You can go more on the entrepreneurship side or you can go more to the employee side. But this is a great way to get your foot in the door and it leaves open a lot of possibilities. So this really is my recommendation. And now I mentioned that there are all those career paths, full stack Web3 dev, backend, smart contract developer, etc. So full stack and backend, it's the problem with this is that, as I said, most of what you do is actually Web2 development, it's not Web3. Okay, so it can be a bit frustrating if you really want to focus on Web3, but you're still doing most of Web2 stuff. Security auditor, I think is super interesting, but a lot of people who are successful in this space, usually they were already either in the security industry in Web2, or they were smart contract developer. Because how can you audit a smart contract if you are not very good at smart contract development? You have to do it one step at a time. First, you learn how to create the smart contracts, your smart contract dev, and then you know how to audit them. But I think it's a bit hard to start directly as an auditor unless you have some security experience in Web2. MEV trader, I think this is really cool because you can be very independent and make money on your own. But it's also, if you don't have enough knowledge of smart contract, you will be a little bit limited, because to understand the best opportunity as an MEV trader, you need to understand smart contract, how they work. And so starting as an MEV trader can be a bit more difficult. And finally, blockchain core developer, well, it's really difficult. It's really the elite of the blockchain industry, so it's not for everybody. And the salary aren't necessarily higher than the other things. So that's why I recommend to get started as a smart contract developer. Okay, so you are very, very specialized. In terms of use case, I would recommend to focus on DeFi, because this is where you have the biggest demand. Okay, and to start as a freelancer, because this is easier than getting a full-time job. And you also have a lot of job board for crypto if you want to find a full-time job, like you have crypto job list, you have LinkedIn, you have Indeed. But for most people, it's easier to start as freelancer. In terms of portfolio, well, here's the thing. The portfolio really depends on the career path that you are going to take. But for what I recommend is to be a smart contract dev, a good idea of portfolio is to create a token, not a simple token. Okay, it will be better to create something a little bit more advanced. A token can have different feature, and to actually deploy this token to mainnet, and not just keep it on your computer, but deploy it, maybe create a website, so that you can prove that you've done real thing. Doing a deployment to mainnet is just so important. Okay, then other things I can recommend you is to be really active online. For example, you can have a blog where you talk about your journey, the things that you learn. Then you can also be active on social media. This is how I got my first customers back in the days. And then think about networking. So networking is like a huge cheat sheet, basically, a huge hack. Because when you meet people in real, you basically cut all the competition. So me, the first crypto customer I got was in 2017. It was by going to a meetup about blockchain development. So in your area, check on meetup.com. There are probably a few meetups about blockchain. Conferences are great. Also, you have many kind of crypto conferences, and a lot of them have side events. So either before or after the conference. And those side events are actually the best, because this is in smaller committees, so it's easier to create relationship in a smaller group. I'm not necessarily the most outgoing guy, but the thing is, if you go to that kind of crypto conference, a lot of other people will be exactly like you. Okay, so don't worry. It's actually easier than what you think to create relationship there and start a conversation. And you can find your first customer like this, or maybe your first job. So what do we do? Because at this point, I gave you all my secret. Okay, so do we just stop here and do I just let you let you continue on your own? Okay, so let's be honest here, guys. What happened to most people who watch a video course is they don't know what to do. Okay, they just watch the video course. So there are a couple of courses that you can find here on YouTube. Some of them are great, but the big problem is that usually nothing happened. You just watch the course and then you don't know how to turn it from a tutorial to a reality, to a real job, how you can monetize your skill. You just stay stuck. You just basically waste your time. So instead of doing this, I want to introduce you to our Solidity Bootcamp. So Solidity Bootcamp, this is a 1-month program to turn you into a Solidity Pro. Ultimately, at the end of this bootcamp, you will be able to get your first paid gig, which will more than reimburse for the investment of the bootcamp, and you will be able to work remotely. And usually after 6 months to 1 year after the bootcamp, you will be able to get your first full-time job, right? So we are really here to help you to get your foot in the door so that in 1 month, we're going to condense all the learning. We're going to tell you everything you need to know to do your first gig, and we save you a lot of time. So the next cohort will be in August 12th. It's going to be 1 hour 30 per day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. This will cover the blockchain and Ethereum basics, Solidity coding, basic to advanced, smart contract testing, smart contract deployment, smart contract security, EVM and YOL, gas optimization, and token development, which gives you something practical, a practical task that you can do, which means that after you can go on Upwork or find any freelance client wherever you want, and you can offer your service as a token creator, which can earn anywhere between $500 to a few $1,000. So with your first gig, basically, you will more than reimburse the bootcamp. In terms of technology, we are focused on Ethereum, Solidity, and Foundry. And in the bootcamp, so beside the live classes, you get some code review, which is a great way to learn. So this is an interactive program where you get some feedback, contrary to a video course where you don't get any feedback, and which make it way harder to learn. So this is probably one of the best parts of the program. Our students love this. You get access to the lecture recording. If you cannot make it one day, no problem. Just attend, check out the recording, and you get access to our private Discord. Okay, so you are gonna have a supporting community. The power of community is very important. If you're trying to make it on your own, it's always much more difficult. But here you're going to be in a cohort. You're going to have other developers who, like you, want to become a professional Solidity developer. So it's very motivating. You know, what you can do with the support of other people is much better than if you do it alone, of course. And as part of the bootcamp, we also offer you a free review of your Upwork, LinkedIn, and GitHub, which is great to make you much more competitive. I know that developers suck at marketing, so if you have a bad GitHub, a bad LinkedIn, Upwork is gonna make it much more difficult to get started. So we are here to help you on that. Okay, so let's recap what we have in this bootcamp. So you're gonna have access to the core curriculum. You're gonna have code reviews, access to the lecture recordings. You're gonna have a lifetime access to our private community, a review of your CV in LinkedIn and GitHub, and all of this for an investment of $750, which is equivalent probably to the first gig that you're gonna have as a Solidity dev. You're probably gonna make more money than this. Okay, so this is an investment that is going to repay itself many times, and well, when ultimately you will get your first full-time job, which might happen anywhere between 6 months to 1 year after the bootcamp, then you're probably gonna get a 6-figure job. So this investment compared to what you're getting is negligible. So the enrollment of the bootcamp is going to close on August 7. Okay, so don't wait too long, otherwise it's gonna be too late. So to register, you go to eattheblocks.com/bootcamp. So I'm gonna show you here. I'm gonna put this in the chat. All right, so eattheblocks.com/bootcamp. So here you can see the different detail about the bootcamp, and here you have some testimonials. And here you click on enroll now. It's going to take you to a link to pay with credit card or PayPal, or you can also pay in crypto by following this link. Okay, guys, so let's go back to our press. So a little bit about Eat the Blocks. So I started Eat the Blocks in 2017. We had more than 15,000 students. And I wanted to share with you some feedback that we had in the past. So this is a student that got his first job in 2 months. Someone else who followed our bootcamp, and basically someone who tried to learn Solidity with Udemy courses but didn't get it. And with our bootcamp, she was much happier. Someone else who got their first Solidity job. Someone who got I got 2 offers from 2 employers after our training. Someone else here, another student who became a blockchain developer. And then we also had a couple of students who created their own blockchain project. So here, this developer at Microsoft who created this own decentralized exchange after our training. Future Swaps, I mentioned, so we trained the CEO of Future Swap, and I mentioned a job description at the beginning of this presentation. And so that is one of our alumni who is hiring, basically. And so he created this project. They raised $10 million, so major success. Also, we have the founder of Secure Finance, a big API for Web3. And we have a couple of students' testimonial that you can see on eattheblocks.com/bootcamp. Okay, so next, if you follow our bootcamp, our hope is that you can be our next success story and we can put you in this presentation. Okay, so recap. When you sign up for the bootcamp, you get access to our curriculum, code review, lecture recording, lifetime access to our community, and a review of your CV, LinkedIn, GitHub. Okay, so to register, eattheblocks.com/bootcamp. And now I'm going to answer to a few questions you may have, and after you will be able to ask me any question you want. So does the Solidity Bootcamp covers everything to become a Solidity developer? Yes, there is no prerequisite. We're going to take care of everything. Okay, so at the end, you will be ready to get your first freelance gig. How much time do I need to follow the bootcamp? So you will need roughly 10 hours per week. If you can attend the live lesson, that's better. If you cannot, you still have access to the recordings. How long does it take to find your first gig as a Solidity dev? Probably between a few weeks to a few months. So, finding your first gig is much easier than finding your first job, okay? So you will absolutely be able to find something, okay? I haven't met anyone who followed our bootcamps and who seriously looked for their first gig and who didn't find it, okay? Don't worry about this. There is enough demand. And when it comes to your first job, it might take anywhere between 6 months to 1 year, depending on your profile. Can we find freelance work as a junior Solidity dev? Yes, there is a lot of demand. So you go on Upwork, but it can also come from your personal network. A lot of people want to create tokens nowadays. And if you don't believe me, just go on Upwork and check out the demand there. You just type blockchain and you see how much result you have. What are the prerequisites to take the bootcamp? There's no prerequisite. You can get started from scratch. We're going to teach you everything. Will I get some help if I'm stuck? Yes. So you have help during the live lesson. Okay, so you can ask any question you want during the lessons, and also on Discord, we can help you asynchronously. What if I'm not happy with the program? Well, we have a 7 days refund guarantee after the beginning of the program. Okay, so you have 1 week to change your mind, so you don't take any risk. Okay, so to register, eattheblocks.com/bootcamp to start your career in Web3. Okay, so now let's do the Q&A. So let's see what we have here. So any question, guys? Ines, I've begun in Web3. How do I get a job now? Well, I gave you a couple of pointers in this presentation, but it depends if you already, if you're a total beginner or not. So maybe you can give more detail. Can you get into Web3 without experience in full stack? Yes, you can. All right. Then what else? Please make video on how much knowledge is required to get started into bug bounty and other security challenge. Yeah, so I would get started with smart contract development and Solidity before getting into security. And this is what we do in a bootcamp. All right, Vlad, good day, Julian from Kiev. Amazing, welcome. Is it advisable to push 2 branches of evolution, such as Solidity? You mean, should you learn Solidity development and full stack Web3 simultaneously? Focus on one thing at a time, okay? Because otherwise, it's going to be very, very distracting. So start with Solidity, I would say, and full stack. You will see this later. Right? Patolia, what about smart contract, DevOps for smart contracts? So big project might be interested in that. All right, Thiago, what language are you using on backend? Well, we don't have backend in Web3. All right, what else? Code for discount. So basically, right now you $750. This is the early bird price, and the next cohort, the price is gonna go up. Appreciate that method of explaining blockchain development. I will enter the bootcamp. Amazing, man. Looking forward to it. Okay, guys, so if there are no more questions, I'm going to share with you one last time the link to our bootcamp. So in 1 month, we're going to turn you into a Solidity Pro. Okay, eattheblocks.com/bootcamp. You have until August 7th to sign up. All right, so thanks everybody for coming, and I will see you later. All right, bye everybody. Bye.